Alright, what's up Diablo 4 Barbarians? Massive, insane buff that I did not expect that Barbarian was going to get, and that is in the form of some brand new builds. So for starters, if you're wondering, well, did they nerf the Bash Barb? Are they nerfing the Bleed Barb? Well, not exactly to the point where like it's unplayable. Now there is a nerf that we'll talk about, but it doesn't really matter that much because there's different things to actually play now. So for starters, one thing that's kind of nice with Barbarian, you don't have to swap classes like to the Sork or to the Rogue if you wanted to hit these other things that Barbarian normally wouldn't really be able to go ahead and temper on, which is pretty cool. There is a new unique amulet, but it's for a ZDPS support Barb, and it's cool that we're getting some support for some other playstyles, but most people are here to see the damage. What are we going to be playing for the Barbarian? And while I expected Bash to get deleted, we really don't have a change to Bash unless you're doing Bleed Bash. But the thing is that you can still play the Bash Barb, and of course, if you're interested in playing Whirlwind, well, it's not looking that bad at all. In fact, Whirlwind got some buff to the base Whirlwind, not the Bleed variant that everyone is playing. So the thing that I'm actually the most excited about is called the Third Blade. This is a brand new, unique item, and what it does allow you to get is specifically your weapon masteries are now core skills. So anything that would say your core skill deals whatever, or, you know, any ranks as core skills, you can now scale that into the different category, which is going to be the weapon mastery. But instead of having cooldowns, they have a cost. Now, they don't do their full damage. They do a percent of the normal damage, so the highest roll would be 70%, which is fine. Now, their fury costs are reduced by 5 for any additional charges the skill would have had. So, what is pretty insane with this is, well, now we can start spamming on skills that we could not normally spam. And looking at what I was actually thinking about messing around with was specifically looking at Rupture. Keep in mind, we have guaranteed 100% overpower every single time. And then we can now become a strength stacker with the Enhanced Rupture, making it so we're going to get a crazy multiplier over here. This is just one. This was actually for a completely different build. This is actually, I just took a Ren Barb that was on the max roll. And you can see the bonus damage is already 320x. And if we can keep on spamming this back to back to back with no cooldowns, because remember, it doesn't have cooldown anymore, it now has resource costs, which Barbarian's totally fine on a resource. Now we can either increase our attack speed or we can make it so we can heal. Now, I'm going to be honest, you're probably just going to take this. So the Rupture now is going to deal some crazy amount of damage with Enhanced Rupture, and because the way the Barbarian works, and it has 4 weapons, you just roll greater affix on specifically all of the bonuses to strength. And then on top of that, if you wanted to make a Deathblow Barbarian, well, Deathblow already hits for a huge, crazy number compared to any of your other skills like you would with like Hoda or whatever. And then on top of that, well, Enhanced Deathblow does 150% increased damage to bosses. And that's an X, that's a multiplier. That is crazy. With no, remember, there's no more cooldown anymore. And then you can guarantee yourself Berserking, or you can gain Fury. And because now it's going to cost Fury, I don't know what the exact number is, though. That's the one thing that we may have to factor in, but also has a pretty good lucky hit chance. It's 50%. But being able to either infinitely use it, because it's at this point, we don't even have to worry about the Fury cost, right? So that is one thing I'm very excited about, because remember, it's going to cost Fury. I don't know if that's going to double the amount or what the exact case may be, but there's something else that I want to talk about in a moment here, and that's why I have this, which we'll check out in a moment. But that is one thing that I did want to go ahead and kind of start off the video with. Now, as far as the other aspects, because I showed off the 2 new uniques, there's the amulet, which again, it's for like a ZDPS support Barbarian. This is what I think most people would be interested in. Now, as far as knocking back an enemy, you get extra movement speed, whatever. That doesn't really matter too much. And then with the tempering recipes, there's Slayer's Finesse, which is offensive, which will let you have vulnerable or bonus damage against injured or bleeding damage. So we are going to be losing some stuff with bleed, though. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. So there are some changes also with Barbarian. So starting right off with Bash, they changed the functionality. After bashing 4 enemies, your next bash will clobber, which stuns enemies for 1.5 seconds, and clobber twice as often using 2-handed weapons. So with Enhanced Bash, they changed so clobbering would grant you the maximum life as Fortify, and then with Battle Bash, they adjusted the functionality. Clobbering an enemy generates additional 10 Fury. But more like, again, it's not going to really matter because you were playing Bash Barb, which I didn't see any nerfs here. And if you're interested in playing Flay Barb, which is already really good, the vulnerable duration got a buff. With Combat Flay, you get more damage reduction, you get more stacks, and the buff duration actually will last even longer. And then with Endless Fury, it no longer requires 2-handed weapons, and the basic gain of Fury got changed. It really doesn't matter though. Imposing a presence, the maximum health got reduced. So this is technically a nerf, but that doesn't really matter. Now we have a buff to the Wanton Rupture. This is used for basically anyone that's interested in doing the Uber bosses. They're going to be able to do even more damage. With this, they're basically changing the cooldown by quite a bit amount. That's like 10 seconds cooldown reduction. That's great. And then we have some buffs to Whirlwind. So if you guys haven't played Whirlwind recently, I'll be showcasing off like a newer build of like the new Whirlwind with Tierlist, which is quite popular right now. Pulling in the enemies isn't going to matter for that build because you do damage with the little Whirlwind spins, not necessarily your Whirlwind damage. So that doesn't really matter too much. Now, if you are playing Whirlwind for the sake of Whirlwind dealing damage, that might be an option. They have been constantly buffing Whirlwind in terms of like Gore's devastating grips, but I don't know how viable this will be. We'll have to wait and see if someone comes up with an idea, because again, I don't think Whirlwind scales necessarily as well as, let's say, like the bleed version of, or like a Flay or a Bash Barb. And then Steadfast no longer requires Lucky Hit and it always triggers. That's for like the fortification. And then Gore's Devastating Grip is getting a buff, so the explosion size is now affected by Whirlwind size. So you will actually start tempering in on the Whirlwind size versus like the Dust Devil. So this is not the Dust Devil like buff. This is for specifically Whirlwind. And then this is where we get a nerf over here. So Hemorrhage, which is a legendary node that pretty much every Barbarian would be getting. Let me go find a Hemorrhage over here. So over here with Hemorrhage, it makes it so your bleed damage is increased by your vulnerable damage, and most people would have this, I would say like 80-ish, but you could obviously scale it higher, or you might not be able to hit the cap or whatever, but that is now having a cap. Now, previously it had no cap, so you can just go as high as you would want, but yeah, your bleeding damage now has a cap, so it puts it kind of more in line with things, but that just means you could just scale crit instead, because you could just go to your skill tree and you're going to be playing Gushing Wounds anyways. So just scale more crit instead of getting your vulnerable damage. Once you max that out, you have still something else to scale, as this, I believe Gushing Wounds wasn't even listed here. We'll check in 1 second. And then the Weapons Master Legendary node, the Fury gain got increased over here. So first off, checking out Bash over here, there are no notes for Bash getting nerfed. It's just that like after using Bash, it changes that. And then Gushing Wounds did not get a change. So I was really surprised that Barbarian didn't get any nerfs with this. But there is another change that I do want to mention, and Flay is already really, really good. Now, they actually moved Flay. At first I was like, okay, well, if they nerf like that other thing, which has like a cap now, is it really going to change things that much? Yeah, kind of. But for the most part, you can still infinitely scale the Gushing Wounds, so you still be good to go. Now, Flay got changed over here, so there's a few buffs that I mentioned, but there's also another change to Flay, which got removed from Bleed Augments. Or, I'm sorry, they're changing it to Utility, which is now, from Bleed Augments. And you might think, oh, that's a nerf, I can't put it on my weapons anymore. Because right now, if you craft something and then you go ahead and modify in terms of tempering, you would get Flay Duration. But this is actually going to be a huge buff. And I don't know if this was like intended, that's why I'm saying like mega buffs for Barbarian. Because instead of needing it to actually roll, which normally is considered on your tempering, and it's considered the weapon one, which is the most important one for a lot of builds, instead now, it is considered utility, which is crazy because it says now it's a Barbarian utility recipe. So they are moving these. So it says the following temper affixes have been moved from existing ones, which now, instead of getting it on 4 pieces of gear, you can now get it on 6 pieces of gear, which again, this clip over here, because I was checking what like the highest clear was, because Maxwell, I believe, hasn't updated their ladder yet. This guy over here pulled off a 140 billion hit. Now, what is really cool with this is we can now throw it on our helmet, but we'll probably run Harlequin. But if you wanted to, it could be there, it could be in your chest piece. I know it shows ranks to outburst, but it's because it's considered a utility now. So because it's utility, you can throw it on your chest, you can throw it on your gloves. So what are you losing out on? Obviously there's a trade-off, right? So you can still craft the offensive thing, but instead of getting like the chance to stun enemies, chance to freeze or whatever, or whatever you would get in the different utility, which is like, you know, tough as nails. Like, are you going to really run that? Probably not. But before, people would run Concussion or Steel Grasp can stun, like it was in a few different things. But because it's not even on the offensive category, you still have that open to get even more damage. So you can get more damage, and you can get the Flay Duration, so your damage can even go through the moon. So you're gonna get even more damage, and I just can't believe that they did that. Like, that's something I did not expect at all. So even though there is a nerf, there is a pretty sizable buff over here, because again, normally with these utility slots, it's kind of just like a whatever. It's not like, oh, I really need that slot, which allows you to temper on whatever you want to. If you do want to run something else, you can run Berserking Duration or whatever other things that you would normally run for the weapon here, because again, the weapon one is the most important for, I would say, most builds. I mean, again, Flay is getting moved over, so it doesn't matter. But you could even run other things over here, because if we look at most of the basic skills in general, I mean, they have pretty good lucky hit chance, and since Barbarian has a lot of weapons, I was thinking, well, since you're scaling all of your damage to go ahead and apply bleed anyways, you could even think about tempering, as far as the weapons go, that chance to deal those damages. Remember, you have 2 weapons that are two-handers, so again, you could just put, I believe bleed is considered physical damage, so you could hit that on it, and then you have another proc chance. And there are these new boots in the game too. These are for everything. It's like there's a chance that you can just do fire damage whenever you use a ability. So you basically have a lot more things to play around with the Barbarian. So not only is Flay essentially getting like crazy damage numbers, because you're going to get a lot more like other things to hit, because again, the other thing that normally would be there, well, you don't need to roll it on your weapons anymore. So that's a huge win with that. And then on top of that, you could consider any of the weapon masteries as a new form to play. So as far as in Season 5, what would I say is the new thing to play for Barbarian? There's a couple buffs to Whirlwind. I haven't seen anyone make a pure Whirlwind build. It's right now, it's mostly going to be, as far as I can tell, going to be the same sort of like Whirlwind with the Tyrials. That will still probably be a cool thing to play. There is a buff to the Whirlwind sucking in, but again, the problem is the Whirlwind doesn't deal very much damage, right? But they have actually changed it with another thing on Whirlwind, where they fixed an issue. They say fixed, I don't know if it was bugged, but it says that it doesn't scale with passive and temporary attack speed. So does this mean I can throw accelerating on and all the attack speed will now scale Whirlwind to be crazy good? Because if we're getting faster attacks on the Whirlwind, well, that just means all of the other bonuses make Whirlwind even stronger, which means that we would get more Dust Devils, so then this actually buffs Dust Devils. Now, I cannot really confirm or, you know, what's going to essentially happen with this, but if we can make the Whirlwind spawn twice as fast, we wouldn't even need to roll the chance for the Whirlwinds to actually affect twice, right? Which means we would get an extra weapon tempering slot for additional stuff. Maybe we can even try to run a hybrid build now, because remember, Flay is like God tier. There's nothing that beats Flay for the bosses. So now we could play a Whirlwind to clean up the trash, because Flay kind of sucks for the trash mobs. And now Barbarian's like even stronger because they have the best boss killer, because remember, Flay moved everything to the utility, and then we have all of the temperings for like Dust Devil size, and also we don't even need to craft the double, because when we're spamming Whirlwind, we also get those things, the tornadoes to spawn in, and if we're attacking faster, in theory, the tornado should happen faster, and there's a 15 cap limit, which again, we wouldn't even need to worry about, since we're going to be shooting out more. We wouldn't need the double tornadoes. So I would say the things to look out for to kind of wrap up the video here. Whirlwind has some like weird potential. It's kind of unknown. I would look at Whirlwind if I was trying to play on the PTR, which is coming out next week. I would look into Whirlwind, and I would specifically look into this. Like Rupture and Deathblow could be something really good. And Flay is already good. We already know that's going to be amazing, because it's not getting nerfed, really. I know that there's a change to like the vulnerable, which I had mentioned on the Paragon board over here. So this is getting a cap technically, but you could even play it without it, to be honest. I've seen like this build, this is just a Rupture variant that wasn't even playing it at all, but you could still roll vulnerable damage, and with the new thing, it already has technically vulnerable damage on it, even though they're nerfing it. So you may not have to even scale it to hit on your weapons now. You could either forget about that board completely, or decide what you want to do with it. But anyways, that's going to wrap up things for the Barbarian. What are you most excited to play? Let me know. For me, I'm actually really excited to see if Deathblow or Rupture, with converting it and becoming a strength stacker, which is yeah, another thing that we can mess around with the bonuses here. Just become a strength stacker. We have no cooldown on this, guaranteed overpowers. And I was even thinking, well, you know, Banished Lord's Talisman, what I find even more interesting, if we were to run Banished Lords, that is supposed to be for your core skills, right? So when your core skill overpowers, you get a 60x multiplier on this, which is pretty good as well. And because it gives you ranks to core skills, now your other skills count as core skills, so you get plus ranks to that. So there's a lot of like these little like double whammies that you're going to be getting with Barbarian. So yeah, Barbarian's still looking very good, and I still can't believe that we got all of the stuff converted to utility, because that just makes the build even stronger. So fingers crossed they won't nerf it, but you know, you never know with it. But if you're a fan of Bash, that's still going to be pretty good. I would say it's still going to be probably one of the easier things to level at the start, because you don't need to scale a bunch of like crit like you normally would with like the bleed gushing wounds variant. But that's going to wrap up things. Let me know what Barbarian build you plan to play in Season 5 as far as the PTR. But for me, yeah, definitely Rupture and definitely Deathblow. But anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys want to see gameplay of the Season 5 Barbarian, we'll be dropping it here in just a couple days. But take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.